Good morning. How's everybody doing? Oh, excuse me. Welcome to Open Forum number 3. This is a good one. They're all good ones, right? So, today we're going to touch on some things, as we always do. But the thing I want to talk about today is mental health. I think it's important. I think that understanding mental health helps one stay in balance with where they're at in things. And it's very easy to put somebody in a box based on a limited understanding of what someone else tells you, right? So I just wanted to start the video out with speaking on mental health is very important. You should always take it seriously. That thinking may be the key to understanding, but how you feel about how you think is very important. Weird way to say it, right? So, with that being said, I want to talk about motivation. What motivates people? What drives them? What becomes the factor in the reason that they get up in the morning and do something. Mine is my talking points, right? I just want to go into a little bit, is based on pain. If you watch some of the videos, you've got a comprehensive understanding that I've been through a couple of things. I've been through some trauma. I've been through some pretty unpleasant versions of humanity, as it were. I put myself in those positions and had to work my way out of them. But mental health itself, the ability to think rationally, at some point, it becomes too much for someone else to deal with. And then it becomes a mental disorder. It's weird that some people with a mental disorder can excel at life. And some people seem to let it get the best of them. What happens, though, when you misdiagnose somebody? Well, you have an obscure view of who they are. It's pretty straightforward, right? And to have a clear view to be able to diagnose somebody, we'd have to understand where they've been, what they've been through, right? Like there's more to life than limits, correct? And there's always exceptions to every rule. But we judge people based on definitions of understanding. I just think it's really important that mental health always be taken seriously, that people help each other. I don't know how else to explain that. That when people get down, they need somebody to help lift them up. It's important. And I don't recommend lifting yourself up unless circumstances allow you no other option. It's rough. I just wanted to touch on it, make you aware that I'm aware of it. I can see how erratic some of the videos are and the subject matter and the way that I tie things together. However, coherent thought shows the misdiagnosis if there is one. The ability to be rational and to structure your entire life around rationality is the key factor in what's the problem. So I'm antisocial. I'll tell you why. I went through it this morning. What do you mean you went through it? Well, I was reading this morning. I like to do that occasionally. I like to just look things up. Remember, I threatened to go through the whole dictionary and redefine every word just because I thought it could be defined or redefined. Not because it needs to be or I'm right, but How is it we can have a word that means different things and is used in different contexts and one cancels out the other, but they're both right? The language is wrong. You really got to be dumb or smart to figure it out. I don't know which one I am, but I'm there. So I want to talk about something that's going on in my life, where I'm at in my life. Just in case any of you thought like maybe, I'd slip the crackers out, and didn't have a full deck of cards no more. I'm going through mental health in a way that seems to me to be a reoccurring pattern that no matter how I react to it, it remains a problem. And originally it was my problem because it didn't matter what the situation was, it was my reactions to the problem that were the problem. I've addressed those things. It hasn't changed the situation, however. And now that I'm not so violently reactive verbally to the situation, I'm able to grasp it in a new light. I still find myself completely disgusted with the situation, as it were, still. So, having to continually deal with something that you didn't create, you did have responsibility in continuing, and it's already birthed, regardless of how you've amended your own actions and thought processes towards it. That's the mental health thing I have to deal with. And it has to deal with me fighting for custody to be in my kids' lives. And you can boo-hoo me all you want. I really love my kids. And being a dad has been the greatest thing I've ever had to be part of in my entire life. And it's been amazing. And so it's hard. It's hard. There's a lot of days where I just have to sit quietly and wait because there's nothing else I can do. And frustrating myself trying to change the things I can't is insanity. So I meditate and I pray and I spend a lot of time doing music and painting and watching videos on YouTube and just thinking. And a lot of my daily actions are just repetitive so I can reason my way through this. Anger's never done it. Being sad's never accomplished anything. Waiting on somebody else to save me has never happened. So one must think. Now here's the other side of the coin in my life. You're looking at an accomplished man. And I don't mean accomplished like, oh, look at how much I got in my bank account. I worked a lot of my life. Every day I go to work. Not easy work, construction work, hard work, things that require time and patience and skill. And I always had a lot of pride that I was a strong man and I could do whatever job needed to be done. And I don't care what construction job I showed up on. If I don't know how to do it, you're not going to have to tell me twice. I may ask you a couple of times that day, make sure I'm doing it right. But you can count on me. And no matter how bad life's ever been, I could always rely on manual labor, skilled manual labor, that I'd taken the time to learn and practice as I went through life. And then my back broke. My L4 and my L5 are pulverized. That's the word that the doctor used. Because they're pulverized, the gap where your sciatic nerve and all the nerves in your body go through, that channel, is crushed. Parts of my nerve center are crushed. So every day I have chest pains and I have arm pains and I have leg pains and I have ghost pains, and then I get pains in the other parts, and sometimes I can't walk, and sometimes I can't use the bathroom, and it's bad. And not only that, but because of that, I've had further discs as it deteriorates, slip to varying degrees. I have bone spurs all over my lower back. My upper spine is overcompensated, and because I've got two ribs that were previously broken, now they're both floating ribs that I have to pop back into place. And I don't take medication for the pain. I do yoga and I exercise. And every day, it's Russian roulette on how much mobility I'm going to have for the day. Not only that, but I've had a major surgery and a major dog attack on my dominant hand. So most days I'm lucky if I can close it, let alone make a fist. What they want to do is go in and remove all the bone spurs. And they want to put four, this was a year ago. They want to put four metal discs in my back and then put a rod in there to connect the metal disc to, and then take a plate and seal it together with screws and lock my lower half of my spine into place indefinitely. That's what they want to do. They wanted to do this in 2020. In 2020, I quit smoking cigarettes and went all the way through and was 2 weeks from getting this elective surgery, and then COVID shut it down. And I haven't been in a position or a place where I could even heal for 3 to 6 months afterwards to be able to even have the surgery. So when it was so bad that I could barely walk 4 years ago, that I was willing to let these people cut me open and put steel in me or whatever alloy they use. I instead am almost 5 years now, it's 2025, right? Of being to the point where my bones are broken, my nerves are being cut off and deadened, my entire body is reacting negatively, and the only thing that I do to counterbalance this is yoga and exercise. I smoke pot. Anybody that smokes weed knows that as a pain reliever, marijuana does nothing. So, despite the fact that I don't get to see my kids, and despite the fact that I'm pretty much crippled, it's ridiculous. Despite that, I get up every day and I decide to smile. And I get up every day and I do the best I can to try to generate some kind of income. You know, maybe if I make 1,000 videos, I make $1,000 off it someday. And from somebody that doesn't have a lot of options right now, I'm doing the best I can. Starting an LLC to get a business loan to start a small business. Doesn't matter about my felonies or my credit record. This is the new process that I'm trying to do to support myself in some way, shape, or form. Where I'm staying at right now, never been able to stay at before, and I've been here a year now. This is the first time that I haven't been homeless since I was 15 years old. It's like 26 years of chaos in my life, and I've had 1 year to start unpacking it as a human being. To sit down and really go through all the trauma and the pain and the nonsense and the way that people acted and the things I participated in, and like, this is the first year I've ever been able to do that since I was 21 years old and locked in the hole for 6 months for beating up a child molester. And that 6 months of isolation was the first time I had to get in touch with my own soul and deal with myself. Like, there was no way to distract myself from the world. It was just me and myself and four walls and a 6x9 and a couple of books. The first time I worked on myself was 21 years old. And then I stopped. So I don't make any excuses for where I am as a human being, and I don't make any excuses for the lack in my life. I don't consider it lack. I'm so proud of myself for who I am as a human being and how far I've come. I'm proud that I get up every day and I don't want the pills. I don't want to go mask this. I miss my kids. I don't want to go get sideways or try to escape somewhere. No, I just sit here quietly and fight for them and do the best I can based on my current physical abilities to do so. If I could weld, I'd be making $35 an hour. I wouldn't have any financial problems. I wouldn't be in any of the situations I am. So the worst part, the worst mental part is knowing that I spent years developing skills. They're in demand. And those skills mean nothing now. I had to destroy my ego to be okay with where I am in the world right now. And I mean destroy it. Everything I thought I was and who I was and what I was about, all of it, I had to fucking shit stomp. I started doing that years ago for my kids to be a better example, but like really get down with myself and I'm just here by myself. I recommend it. I recommend isolation. I recommend taking time to cry. I recommend spending time with yourself. I'd highly recommend it. I look around the world and I see a bunch of things that I used to do wrong. I don't blame nobody. I don't judge nobody. I've been through a lot of things, but I decided not to be that human being years ago. And it took a long time to get to the point where I wasn't that human being anymore as a human. And I want to do a little testimony this morning. I want to talk about mental health. In case I got any friends out there that remember me. The idea that I have enemies, you ain't walked in my shoes. I got plenty of people that do not like me. I know them personally. There's more than 10. It's not outlandish to think that people that spent so many years talking down to me wouldn't be invested in seeing if it worked. So that was one talking point this morning. I just want to share a little bit. Not as a boo hoo, as a I did it. I did it in a way that, like, they say it couldn't be done. And I'm still standing. Broken body, rotten teeth, all alone, and I'm smiling. It's impossible to be happy or content or smile with mental diseases. Unless we're talking about delusion. This year is going to be a good year for me. I've quit smoking half a dozen times, started again, quit smoking, started again, quit smoking, started again. All I got to do is make it 6 months. My insurance will pay for that surgery. And I've had a lot of people tell me I shouldn't do it. But I don't understand how I'm supposed to continue with the current degradation of my bones, how I'm supposed to continue to make it through it at the current rate. Like, we need to get real serious about some science that supposedly doesn't exist because I need a new back. So, anyway, that's what the open forum was about this morning. And don't forget, this is an open forum. So, you relate? Speak on it. Think I'm a kook? Speak on it. You want to respond in some way, shape, or form, or share a memory? Want to have a dialogue? Let's talk about it. I think there should be lots of spaces for lots of people to speak on their mental health and where they're at, where they need help at, and where they want to go. Being heard, I think, is super important. This is how I do it. Not because I need justification, not because I need accolades or I need a hug or poor me, because to speak on it makes it not scary. To speak on it gives you a sense of like surviving something, and not dying from it and becoming better because of it. It's been kind of interesting though, because when I was looking up schizophrenia this morning, I was looking at all the definitions and the symptoms and the things that are going on, and like, so Jesus was schizophrenic, and our United States government, so that's schizophrenic, and God, I'm gonna get so much shit about this. The way that we treat people that aren't the same skin color, that's not schizophrenic, because the thing is when you start getting in the definitions of this, it can be broadened because it seems like mass delusions are going on, and you're perfectly okay to have a mental disease if you fall into a certain group of people. Well, they all have it, so that makes it true. It doesn't make it a mental disease. Even if you go down and you look through the dictionary, the mental health things and the definition of them, how do we have psychiatrists? And it's just a question. But why aren't you diagnosing and treating the people running the country? That's all I want to know. If if mental health is such a big thing, why are all the bad mental health examples and thought processes and actions, why is it represented in our body of government, in our body of science, in our body in the way that we teach, period? Why do we have definitions to isolate people? And if they're successful, they're eccentric. And if they're not successful, they're schizophrenic. It's the same person. I'm not saying I'm right, but how come that can be right if the people that are in the right camp say it's wrong? And there's no way it can be right. That's the problem with the lack of duality in thought. If you can't think from both sides of it, because you've experienced both sides of it, to give you an example to talk about, how are you right? I've heard many people preach about God, but I've never seen any one of them, when the camera's off, still walk with God. In fact, in my entire life, I've never had a sane, rational person come up and tell me I'm insane. I've only had people that absolutely exhibited some of the worst examples of humanity tell me that I'm doing something wrong or somehow I'm not right. Meanwhile, they're doing the most fucked up, horrendous shit behind closed doors. Can someone explain to me how that works? Is mental health a popularity contest, as it were?